Hi there, this is Nathalie with a new process video for Pinterest Studio, and today we're actually gonna work a layout using the new Holiday Magic collection. And this collection is beautiful, filled with color, lots of sentiments, very fun and perfect to document your holidays. So I want to take advantage of the chipboard frames in this collection, and I pulled already 2 pictures of my little cousins for this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna cut the chipboard. I'm gonna keep the backing with it so that I'm able to move it on my page. So you're gonna see that I actually selected these photos because my little cousins are wearing actually antlers and these funky Santa hats, and they have red and white, so that makes it really festive. So I want to bring a lot of color in a controlled way onto this page. So here's where I'm just going to set up the idea that I have in mind. You're gonna see that I've chose, like I said, my 2 chipboards for my photos, and I want to create a vertical design for this layout. So I went with a background that was very neutral. This is the Merry and Bright paper. The A side is the paper that has all the icons. The B side has this beautiful grid, like gray grid, so it's a very nice neutral. So what I'm doing first of all is I'm gonna add a little bit of gesso to the right of the page, because I want to add mixed media. I want to add watercolor to the background to bring some pop of color. So I gotta make sure that I cover or that I coat my paper so that when I add the water it doesn't buckle. One, and the second one is just gonna help me create that organic look that I'm going for. So I make sure to add the gesso. I make sure that it dried completely before I came back, and I'm gonna start working with adding color. And I want to add a little bit of the light blue that the collection has. So I'm using sky blue liquid watercolor. If you have it, I know they're no longer available at Pinterest Studio. I have a little bit left over, so I'm gonna use it. And this is sky blue, and just a little bit of the liquid watercolor. That's all you're gonna need. Is a very concentrated pigment. So I'm just gonna add a few drops and some water, and then I'm gonna use my watercolor brush to move the pigment onto my page. I'm gonna add a little bit of water, and literally because I added the gesso onto my background, I am able to move the paint. The gesso allows me for just for the liquid to stay afloat a little bit longer, so I'm able to move it around and create that organic watercolor background, and at the same time it just strengthens the paper so that when I add water it doesn't soak into the fibers of the paper and buckle the paper. Instead, the gesso works as kind of a resist, so it helps to create that organic look of the watercolor and also to prevent some buckling. So make sure if you want to create something similar, you add gesso onto your page. If you don't have gesso, then go ahead and use acrylic paint. White acrylic paint will do the same trick, or you can use a little bit of matte acrylic medium, will do the same trick, but you need to strengthen your page. So all I'm doing, like going back to the layout, is that I'm just adding sky blue with a little bit of water, and all I'm doing is you're gonna see that I have plenty of water, that I'm able to lift my paper, move the pigment around to create that organic look. I want to have enough coverage or enough color on the background that when I add my chipboard frames, color is just kind of peeking from every single side of my chipboard frames. I do not want to cover the entire page. I don't want to cover a lot of it. A lot of the right hand side, sorry. I just want to have enough that it pops from behind the frames. So remember, when you're working with mixed media, it's better less is more. You can always add, but you cannot take away. So think about it. Just go small, and then slowly build up, and just bring your chipboard frames every so often so you know how much of a coverage you have. I don't want to cover the entire page. I just want to bring some color behind it. So I'm going to continue working with the sky blue until I have, I'm gonna say, like my page, that part that I'm looking for covered. Once I'm done with the sky blue, I'm actually gonna add a little bit of aquamarine to bring some of that teal that you see in the collection. Same thing, a few drops, a little bit of water, and I'm gonna apply it onto my background, and then I'm gonna add a few drops of gold ink just to bring that shine that the collection has. Now the key is here. You want to make sure that this background dries completely before you continue working. Now you can go ahead and heat it with a gun, but when you heat paper, you move the structure of the paper. So better just take some time, let it dry on its own, and you're gonna have a flatter surface than if you use your heat gun to speed up the process. So patience is key sometimes. So I'm just gonna set it aside to dry, and then I'm gonna start working on building the extra layers or the extra embellishments for my layout. So one of the things that I'm gonna use for this layout is the layered snowflake die set from Pinterest Studio. I don't know if it's available no more, but I wanted something that was very, like, you know, delicate and at the same time had that holiday feel. And that because winter happens to be at the same time here in Canada, it just kind of marries with Christmas. So I went ahead and I'm using white cardstock to create the larger snowflakes, but I'm going to use the papers from the collection to create a smaller snowflake that acts as a layer behind it. So I added a little bit of yellow, some green, some red, some pink, some blue, and some teal. Again, these are all papers from the 6x6. And then for the red and the green, I actually went into the Santa's Workshop paper. That's the one that has all the tickets, and I'm gonna cut that small snowflake from some of those tickets just to have the colors. But I'm gonna save the ticket because I'm gonna use those to create my layout. So simple as that. And then the way I want to actually layer my snowflakes is I want to make sure that the white, that large snowflake is on the top. So a little bit of glue behind the large white snowflake, and I'm gonna attach it to the pattern paper one. That's simple as that. I actually cut it, the backing, you know, the backing from there's a little offset, and I cut that of vellum, but I made it too chunky. I just want something really delicate for this. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue all my snowflakes, and then I'm gonna be ready to assemble. Until then, my background has already dried, so I'm good to go. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and back my chipboard frames with the photos. Again, these are my little cousins. The little girl name is Noah, and the little boy name is Tadeo. They are the children of my cousin, and that's one of the advantages of being the eldest in the family. I'm the eldest cousin, so I actually kind of helping bringing up my small cousins, and now they're having babies, and I get the pleasure of enjoying them in a different way. So I am actually, like I said, I make sure that I size the photos so that they fit nicely within the empty space of my chipboard frames. So I'm just gluing the chipboard straight onto my pictures and just trimming around it. Once I have them ready, like I said before, I use some of the Santa's Workshop paper, and again, this paper is the one that has all those tickets, to cut some of the smaller snowflakes. And I make sure that when I cut it, I cut the snowflake right out of the center of the ticket, because I wanted to use the edges, you know, the edges that have the little indentation that gives it the feeling of a ticket, to help me create the layouts for this not the layouts, the layers, sorry, for this layout. And this layout is actually very forgiving because I don't want the chipboard frames to sit flat, like straight onto my page. I want to kind of glue them on a slant, so I'm able to use pieces of tickets instead of using the entire ticket. So I'm going to cheat a little bit here. So you're going to see that right now I'm just cementing the idea onto my page. I'm going to start gluing the stuff together, and this one here is the Santa's Workshop paper. I'm actually going to trim the tickets that are right at the edges, so there's only a partial ticket. That's all I need. Like I said, I'm going to cheat having the entire ticket behind the chipboard. I want to make sure that the tickets kind of cascade from the top to the bottom of the page, but the pictures, the chipboard frame photos are, like, you know, right on the center, so that they draw the attention to the pictures. So I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of have the idea of how everything is gonna sit, and then once I'm happy what it looks like, I'm gonna go ahead and start gluing the pieces together. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna glue the leftover pieces where I created my die cuts to the back of the chipboard frames. And like I said, this is gonna be a very forgiving layout because my photos are gonna sit a little bit on a slant. So once I have those tickets glued onto the backing of my chipboard frames, then I'm gonna glue the two chipboard frames together, and they're actually gonna meet right at the corner. The bottom right corner of the small chipboard frame is gonna be underneath that little picture slide kind of chipboard frame. So I'm gonna make sure that I glue those in place so that I'm able to have everything kind of like the way I want to look about it. Just kind of, it's gonna look like as if the tickets are just peeking from the side of the frames. That's the look that I'm going for. Now here's the key. Whenever because I am layering the chipboard frame on top of another chipboard frame, I'm creating a little separation between the paper, the background, and the top chipboard frame. So to make up for that, I need to add some foam adhesive behind it. And also because whenever I attach things onto mixed media, I'm always careful of, like, especially when I'm attaching a photo, I don't like attaching the photo straight onto the mixed media. Instead, I'm going to use a little piece of chipboard behind the photo just to give it some lift. And also that little piece of chipboard is going to make it so that it's completely even when it sits onto my page. So you're going to see right now, I'm just making sure that that's completely set. Another thing is whenever you add gesso or acrylic paint onto your papers, you have to make sure that whatever you glue on top of it has a strong glue. Mixed media tends to make things slippery, so make sure that you add a strong glue. You're gonna see that I put some glue behind my photos, and to make sure that they're completely dry and set on my page, I'm actually gonna add some weight onto the paper, onto the photos. And then while that's drying, I'm gonna go ahead and start adding some foam adhesive behind the ticket. I folded the edge of the tickets a little bit just to create that movement, so I'm gonna add a little bit of foam adhesive behind it just to give it that lift at the edges. And here's where, like I said, pieces of tickets are gonna work fine with this, because I'm just gonna create the illusion as if we're a layer behind it. Again, I cut the tickets that were right at the edges. I just want the little indentation. The only thing that I'm going to be careful about it is that you can read whatever it says on the ticket. So I want to make sure that the letters are not upside down. That's the best way that I can describe it. And then I'm just going to layer them on, like, behind the chipboard frames. Again, think about it as if there's a cascade of tickets coming down the page and the chipboard frames are right on the center. I am gonna add a little bit of foam adhesive behind the layers, behind the little ticket pieces, just to give it that lift and create the illusion of movement. And once I have them in place, I'm actually gonna go ahead and start gluing the snowflakes. Now when I glue the snowflakes, I'm gonna do some color blocking. That means that I'm gonna glue the yellow onto the yellow part, green onto green, and so on. That's just gonna make the colors pop. It's just gonna create a more cohesive look, because I'm not, like, moving colors around. Instead, I'm just popping that color a little bit more. And that's what I added, that layer of the pattern paper behind the white snowflake, just to give it that extra pop. So once I have that, I went into the ephemera pack that has all the titles, and I found one that says "Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time." I'm gonna add some foam adhesive, and that's gonna glue right onto the left of the chipboard frames. Outside of the camera, I actually used the same layer snowflake die, and I cut 2 more snowflakes the same way, but instead of using pattern paper, I'm using gold cardstock for the layering snowflake. And then I'm gonna stick them, I'm gonna tuck them behind the title. And then it's all about adding some shine. I'm using the gems to add a little bit of shine to the center of each one of the snowflakes, and I'm gonna make sure that they match the color of the paper that I'm, yellow and yellow. I kept the centers of the little the snowflake that's in behind the larger white, and it formed a little star, so I'm gluing them around the same snowflake. And then I glue a little Puffy sticker, like this little star stickers in the Puffy sticker sheet. So I'm gonna add them there just to create, like, the color pop. And once I have that, I actually also added this collection comes with a set of gold and silver. I'm gonna use the gold ones, enamel dots. I'm gonna use the gold enamel dots for the snowflakes that are behind the title. I also added a small cardstock sticker underneath the title just to give it more sentiment. My lines or journal are gonna go right underneath that, and that's about it. I love how this turned out. This layout came out really nice. I love the pop-up color. I just love how it turned out, and I hope you like it. As always, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. You can check the entire collection and everything that I use at the shop. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care, guys.